everybody, Steve Human here with Superhuman Customs, and as you can see, I am not alone today. This is the other Superhuman. This is my older brother, David.
And you can follow me on Fat Guy on Film. But yeah, just in town for the holidays and thought I would pop in and help Steven out with a couple mods.
Yeah, so David has been doing custom Star Wars helmets for a long time, and they are amazing. So his paintwork and his ability to customize is unparalleled. So I thought we need to take this opportunity so that I can learn from him, you guys can learn, and we can do some cool stuff. So what we have today is something a little special. We're both Batman fans, but as you guys know, I am less of a Batman fan the older I get. David is to Batman what I am to Superman. So what we decided to do today, we're gonna do two figures, okay? I'm gonna do this Azrael Batman from the cartoon line, which is awesome. What are you gonna do?
Well, I'm doing the animated version of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns Batman in his armor, and I'm totally stoked to do this. And I'm gonna do something a little different than what Steven normally does, where he does these amazing mods. I'm actually gonna mod this figure and do a diorama because I'm stuck here. Thank you, Southwest. So anyway, I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of go out of my comfort zone and go into Steven's and try something out.
So that's what David's going to concentrate on. This one's going to be simple. I'm going to use the same metallic paint on this guy that I did on the other version so that they match, and then I'm going to gold up all of the yellow here. So that's my plan. We're going to be just jumping back and forth as we're doing this. I want to see how he turns out this diorama. I think it's going to be awesome. So are you excited?
I'm pretty freaking excited. Something I've always wanted to try, and here's my chance to do it.
All right, let's knock this out. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my figure, and I love this figure because it was the first comic that got me into comic books. And so what I'm planning on doing is taking this, and in our diorama, I want to do something very similar to what Frank Miller did in the Dark Knight Returns book, with him standing on the tarmac with the lamppost in the back. And so I'm going to start with the figure, and I'm going to start dinging him up. I like his paint job currently, but we're going to build it up, make it look more metallic, make it look more like he's actually wearing armor and cloth. And so we're going to start with that. And the first thing we're going to do, I want to take this knife and we're going to slowly just start adding some scratches in here. But I want some deep scratches. I know in the comic, it looks like he appears, and this is like the first time he's wearing it, but in this version, I want it to be something that maybe he's worn a couple of times going against Killer Croc or Solomon Grundy or one of his other big Rogues Gallery guys. Now the beauty of this, and I didn't realize it as I started carving in, but he's black underneath. So without even painting him, I've got really good texture on him. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to now start adding our metallic bases to it. So I'm going to start with a gunmetal, and then we're going to go up to something a little shinier on the top. And I've found, like when doing helmets, it kind of helps when you start dark and come up to a light. So we're going to start with this gunmetal, and I'm just going to do a little heavier dry brush, but a dry brush nonetheless, so that we can start kind of enhancing all of this. But I've also moved over to his gauntlets, and I've just started adding ever so subtly this dry brush on there. So it's scratched and the paint looks like it's coming away, and I am loving how it's turning out so far, where these look like they've been through it a little bit.
Well, while David works on dinging up and doing that paint job, I'm going to start on my Azrael Batman. And basically all we're going to do is take that metallic blue that I have on the McFarlane version that we like so much and do the same thing here so that he shines, and then add the gold. So let's dive in on that. Now we're just going to do a nice thin coat. Remember, this metallic paint works particularly well if you're putting it on thin. And so you want it to go over something that's blue, and that's when it works the best. So that's why that other Azrael turned out so well. That's why the Man of Steel, the Justice League Superman turned out so well was because we were able to put on just a nice thin coat. And I'm going to do all of my strokes going downward so that there aren't any, we don't want any streaks that look weird. So I'm going to go through all of him and just do that. Depending on how light of a blue you want on this guy, you're going to want to do probably 2 coats. I'm going to take a look once I'm done with this first coat and see, because it is going on really light, and so his regular color is coming through pretty nicely, but I might want him to just be a little bit lighter if I want him to match the other ones. So again, it's going to be something we're going to have to just pay attention to while we're going through and adding this layer of paint. And his head is turning out pretty good. I think I will do a second coat on this guy because I want him a little bit lighter, but the metallic is coming through just the way we want, and he's looking pretty dang cool.
Okay, so I'm really happy with how this metallic has all gone on, and I'm loving how it's went over on the black areas and just really how he's turning out. But I want to lighten up some of the gray areas just a little bit. So we're going to get a lighter metallic, and I'm going to actually go over the top of him and get him lightened up just a little bit before I start dirtying him up in the next phase. But I'm so far really happy with what's going on with him. And it also adds, as hopefully you can kind of see, it makes it look a little dirty, like it's really been through the ringer. He's fought a lot of his rogues gallery wearing this thing. I don't know, there's something where you sit here and you just focus on this. You kind of don't need to think about anything else, and it's just kind of relaxing in a weird way.
My turn again. I'm going to use the same silver that David's just been using, and I'm going to chrome up these claws so that they are metallic and not just gray. It's very simple. You'll find that what I'm doing compared to what David's doing is very simple and easy, where his is a lot more fun. So I'm a little bit jealous, but it's also nice to have just something simple to work on.
Now I'm going to go into the process of getting him dirty. Stephen had some sandpaper, so what I want to try to do is scuff this up a little bit, and it's going to add some scratches and some dirt to this, and hopefully it'll also fray the edges a little bit. I'm going to add the black wash to the chest area, the belt, and the cloth areas. I'm going to ignore the dark areas because we're using a black wash, so it won't really show up, and it'll kind of mess up the metallic scratches that we've got here. Then I'm going to add some mud to them, and I'm going to do that with a sponge. Now, Stephen typically uses a sponge that looks like this. You can see it's a very tight circle pattern on it. I like using a sponge that has a more open pattern, just like a kitchen sponge. You just take one and you tear it off. And you're going to see why when I start adding the mud. And I'm going to start with this dark brown oiled earth wash that Stephen has. And I'm just going to start down here on his shoes, his boots. And as we go around, it'll start building up a little bit more. And because as we go out, there's going to be different environments that, that Batman's going to be in.
Back to me. It's time to do the gold. Again, David's getting to do all the cool stuff. All mine's simple, so let's just keep going. This is going to do very similar to what the blue did, where it's just going to shine it up. And it's great that we're going over a yellow, because it just makes the job easier. You can put on a thinner coat, goes on more easily. You don't have a lot of the, streaks and things because it's a thin layer, but it just starts to add that shine to it, and that is what we want. We're going to go through this whole shebang, just doing that. I am liking
how this is looking with the gold. Again, it's just having these more metallic paints and hitting the blue and the gold here, it just changes the entire feel of the character. And doing this on figures is so simple, but it makes a huge, huge difference. And remember, when it comes to metallic paints, moving your paintbrush in the same direction, so either always up or always down, is going to give you a much better coverage, and it won't give you streaks. Everything will look better. There's nothing worse than having streaks in a metallic. So by always going down, you're going to eliminate that.
So where we stand right now, I am loving how our Batman is looking. He's got the right amount of dirt. He looks like he's been through it, and I'm really, really happy with him. But for the diorama, I went to Hobby Lobby and I got all these little bits and bobs that I think are going to help us build up the scene that we want. So, and look at this. I just think this is so cool. Mini newspapers. So we can dirty up the alley. So first thing that we're going to end up doing is we're going to go out into the garage and we're going to use the sander that Steven has out there, and we're going to sand one of these down to the base of our lamppost, and we're going to taper one of these off for the lamppost itself. Now, in the image that we were showing before, it's a curved lamppost, but we couldn't find anything that was curved. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a lamppost, just a straight lamppost that's about this tall with our Batman. And I think it's going to work fine because we're doing kind of a different version. And so I think it'll be kind of cool. We get the lamppost in here, we'll add some wires, we'll dirty up the tarmac, and we'll see how we go. I've never done this before, so wish me luck.
And while David and I are working, just behind us, Sam is painting D&D figures. So this whole office is just a madhouse of paint right now. And he's doing an awesome job with these.
He's making it happen, folks.
It's a little bent. It's not perfect, but I figure this is a lamppost in Crime Alley, so it wouldn't be. This thing's going to be beat up and swung on and hit with baseball bats and all sorts of horrible things. So I think for now this is pretty good. Mix up some 5-minute epoxy, and I'm adding it to our lamppost so that we can get it all molded up. I'm going to use this as our asphalt, so this is going to be a part of our road. But as it stands right now, this is too perfect. So what I want to do is I'm going to do a rough tear through half of it this way and then through half of it this way. And if all goes well, it'll be uneven and it'll be imperfect, so it'll look like a crack. But I thought it would be cool if we had a little puddle right here. So I'm gonna just kind of come in here and just start a hole. We're just gonna leave that to dry before we start painting it. Probably should have had the cap off before we started filming.
Oh, we're gonna get it. We'll figure it out. All right, I have to stop filming.
We're gonna let this dry, then we're gonna take it inside where it's warm, and we're gonna start building this up. So far, this is what we got, and I'm really happy with what we're getting. But obviously, we need to add some color to this. We need to make it look like he's in Crime Alley. So we really want this to look like old, dirty asphalt. That there's just layering of years and years of dirt and grime and mud, and you'll have parts that are dark and parts that are light. So what I'm doing is I'm now painting the light pole. And I think now that I'm doing it, I might leave it a little streaky so that it looks old, and it's going to help us when we add the wash to it later. I'm pretty stoked. You know, like I said, I've never done one before, and it's been something that I've been kind of itching to do, but have never been able to do it because I do helmets. Okay, so I bought these little mini newspapers for a dollhouse, and these things are perfect. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of dirtying them up. These are going to be adhered down, but at the moment I'm just getting them wet and trying to get them so they look like they would in a trashy alley. While we were out at Hobby Lobby, we were looking in the dollhouse section, because you can usually find some pretty good stuff, and we found these cans, and they're just kind of generic. I guess they look like Coke cans. What I want to do is add a little more debris. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these down just kind of in random spots around here, just make it look like no one cares. And then I'm going to go over the top with the black wash to make them dirty.
And we're done.
We are totally done. And this was a ton of fun to do. It was way more fun than I thought it would.
We're gonna get him hooked on this. He does the helmets, but for me, the figures are better. Okay, so let's look at the easier. Okay, so Azrael Batman was easier. All he was adding the gold and shining up, using some of the metallic paint. He looks spectacular in my opinion, but he's really simple. This guy is what we're talking about.
I'm going to be honest, I was really nervous about totally ruining this figure, but my heavens, I am so pleased with how it turned out, with adding the nicks and the dings to the dry brushing and adding the metallics to dirtying him up, and then adding the base completely. It's the first one I've ever done, and I know that it's not completely perfect, but by heavens, I am so happy with how this thing turned out. And it's going to look great in your collection.
Oh, I've already got the place for it. And I mean, and this glows and everything, so it's brighter just in general. I mean, you can tell right here that it is just brighter. It's got a brightness to it. It adds a little something. The cans add life. I just think this is the coolest thing ever. Plus, two brothers being able to do something.
That's
awesome.
right. And it was something, I don't know about you, but I know I always kind of wanted to do a little collaboration with you. And I'm glad it was for this, and so we'll have to do another one.
I'm thinking when I come to your territory in April, we'll have to do something along these lines, but a little bit different.
Well, what I may have to do is we may have to do a little of both.
All right.
Do some figure mods, but I might just have a helmet waiting for you.
Oh!
And see how you do with that.
Oh, all right. Okay, this will be a challenge. So in April, probably in May, my birthday's at the end of April, that's when I'm going to go out to Sacramento to see David. So we will film it, and we will show whether I can do as well with the helmet as he did with this figure, because this thing is awesome. Let's take a second and look at some side-by-sides real fast. So here's the Azrael side-by-side. You can see stark difference. I'm really, really happy with how it looks. Okay, now check out the Batman in the armor. It is night and day different. I cannot believe. I mean, look at how it went from just a drab gray to now it's full metallic, just like it should be. And even though this is a cartoon character, it works like gangbusters. David, thank you so much for being on the channel.
Hey, thanks for having me. No, this was great. And I guess I need to say thank you, Southwest, for giving me a lot of time to be here. So I'm really excited for the opportunity I had to actually do one, but to do one with you and to do the base and to have everything turn out the way that it did. Oh, it's going to be great.
All right, well, that's all we got. I'm Stephen Human.
And I'm David Human.
And this is Superhuman Customs. We'll see you next week.